What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including a legend buries a WWE star, has Netflix spoiled a huge WWE match, a former WWE star wants to make amends, a leaked photo of the Survivor Series stage, AJ Lee and Stephanie McMahon squash beef, Triple H's daughter in WWE creative, the truth behind the major WWE team-up, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into our first story. Now, first story looks at a legend buries a WWE star. Now, our top story today takes a look at new comments from the legendary Bret Hart, who surprisingly buried one of WWE's top stars. Sheamus is one of the most respected pro wrestlers in WWE, and he's considered by many to be one of the best pure workers in the world right now. But one legend who isn't a fan of a former world champion is Bret Hart, as during an appearance on Johnny I Pro Show, Hart revealed that Sheamus doesn't know how to throw a punch, and he should learn how to deliver a punch properly. I see guys throwing punches and they open their hand at the last second and slap the guy and then close it by the time they pull back. Who's that Irish guy? Sheamus does those all the time, and I see him. I'm like, why don't you take 10 minutes and go down and have someone teach you how to throw a punch instead of throwing that embarrassment of a punch? These comments have lit social media on fire, with Hart being labeled as bitter and resentful by many fans this weekend, as he went in on so many wrestlers. These comments are kinda wild though, as Sheamus is never criticized for his in-ring work, and countless legends have praised his work. On the specific point of Sheamus's work punches, they've never been an issue before, and it's likely the case that Hart is just picking apart an element of Sheamus's work that he doesn't like. Hart has gone on record to state that he doesn't like overly stiff wrestlers, and he's been critical of the way Gunther wrestles in the past. Sheamus will no doubt be gutted by these comments, as Sheamus is a huge fan of Hart, but hopefully it doesn't impact his confidence in the ring, and he continues to bring his A-game on a weekly basis. In that same interview though, Bret Hart named Rey Mysterio one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. I mean, El Dandy's really going to be disappointed with that comment. Next up, did Netflix spoil a huge WWE match? And the Netflix preview graphics for Raw and SmackDown are usually generic wrestler images, but for Raw this week, the graphic is rather interesting. The graphic features the two world champions, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, and they're joined by Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. Naturally, two of these names aren't Raw talents, so it's being speculated that this is going to be the men's War Games Advantage match, and it's going to take place live on Raw tonight. This would see Punk and Rhodes team up to take on McIntyre and Paul, and it does make a ton of sense, especially when you consider the established history between those involved. This is a significant match to book live on Raw, with two world champions teaming up and McIntyre and Punk wrestling in a featured match for one of the first times since their Hell in a Cell Classic last October. Now, this could be a major spoiler, and it's a surprise that Netflix haven't changed the graphic, as currently Rhodes, McIntyre and Logan aren't even advertised for the show. In relation to the Women's War Games Advantage match, this is set to take place on SmackDown this week, and due to the show already being taped, we do know that Asuka is set to run it back versus Charlotte Flair. Next up, a former WWE star wants to make amends. It's been well documented that Mr. Kennedy held a ton of resentment towards Randy Orton and John Cena. For those unaware, back in 2009, the two played a key role in getting Kennedy fired from WWE. Orton would take a back suplex from Kennedy on Raw, and it was said that Kennedy dropped him in an awkward and dangerous manner. Orton would then complain about Kennedy to Vince McMahon and was subsequently backed up by John Cena. Due to Orton and Cena being McMahon's top guys, Kennedy was immediately fired. Weirdly, Kennedy hasn't made a single TV appearance since, which is crazy when you consider that names who left WWE on even worse terms have been brought back with open arms. Nevertheless, Kennedy is at a point in his life where he's ready to make amends, and he admits that holding the grudge isn't benefiting him in any way. Speaking on the Championship Sports blog YouTube channel, Kennedy mentioned,
"Oh, for sure. Yeah, there was years I hated those guys. But then I woke up one day and realized that, like, me hating them doesn't do anything. They don't care. So they always say, like, hating somebody is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die."
Now, the former WWE US champion would also reveal that he visited Raw back in 2020, and he managed to have a 45-minute conversation with Orton.
Just to check in, see some friends. You know, I've still got friends that work there. Yeah, I happened to bump into Orton. We didn't speak about the incident, but we had a 45-minute conversation and it was fine. I'd like to sit down with him at some point and just clear the air.
Kennedy has never ruled out a WWE return, and he's a name that would be a good fit for a future Royal Rumble, possibly even Saudi Arabia. Next up, WWE going all out for Survivor Series, Now, this weekend's Survivor Series War Games will mark the first time ever in which the show will take place in a stadium. Traditionally, Survivor Series has been an event that has exclusively been held in arenas, but for 2025, WWE believe that the show has enough equity to warrant a stadium. This was a decision that early on received criticism, as a lot of wrestling journalists were questioning whether they would sell enough tickets. Thankfully for WWE, ticket sales are extremely strong, and it probably helps that top names such as Roman Reigns, John Cena, and Brock Lesnar are wrestling on the show. Due to the show being in a stadium, fans on social media have been questioning whether WWE will be producing a special stage, just like they do for Mania. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like this is planned. Leaked photos from those in close proximity to the stadium show the two cages and a basic WWE canopy tent to protect the ring and cages. The standard WWE screen is present, and it looks like nothing special is planned. But with that being said, due to the show taking place in a multifaceted stadium, this gives them the opportunity to play around with their screens and graphics, so this means the stadium could look incredible by showtime on Saturday. Next up, AJ Lee and Stephanie McMahon squashed their beef. Now, a decade ago, AJ Lee, who was reigning Divas champion at the time, called out Stephanie McMahon and WWE via Twitter. AJ took issue with the fact that the women in WWE failed to get equal pay, and they failed to get the same opportunities as the men. There were rumors that this managed to get AJ backstage heat in WWE, but now it's been finally put to bed. AJ appeared on McMahon's podcast today, and according to McMahon, AJ speaking up took a ton of courage. You were the champ at the time, so actually you did have a lot to lose. The courage that, not only that, but the courage it took to fight for what you believed in, and the fact that you really were a different character than any type of stereotype. Like you came out of nowhere, and the audience loved you from the start. They really did. They just connected with you in such a special and unique way, and I appreciated your directness. I'm a direct person as well. I'm sure some people think I'm rude, but I don't mean to be. I just hate all the BS. Let's just have the conversation. And McMahon would then add that the women's evolution occurred thanks to the acts from the likes of AJ Lee, and it didn't happen due to WWE execs. I was preparing for this interview and looking that up at the tweets, and I read all the backstage gossip of what happened. It's just so interesting because people never really know. I was actually happy that you posted that. I wasn't happy that it was directed at me because there wasn't anything I had direct control over, but I was really happy that you did because of that movement. The whole women's evolution in WWE, it didn't happen because of executives. Now, it's somewhat of a surprise that the interview discussed the infamous tweet in great detail, but it was certainly appreciated that both women were able to talk it out. Next up, Triple H's daughter in WWE creative. Now, it seems that the daughter of Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, Aurora Levesque, has long shown interest in taking a leadership role within WWE. While speaking on the podcast with Stephanie McMahon on What's Your Story, McMahon revealed that as far back as early childhood, Aurora's told that she didn't want Stephanie's job or her father's role. She actually wanted her grandfather's role, that being the boss. She said, "Mommy, I don't want your job. Daddy, I don't want your job. I want Pops' job." So she wanted to be the boss from the get-go. She was on the road with me since she was born, and I'd wheel her into the arena on my briefcase. I mean, she would come to the production meetings. However, that may change due to the events surrounding Vince McMahon. She's naturally gifted in the ring. Natty used to train her a long time ago, and then everything happened with my dad and the business, and I left. I think I don't realize necessarily the impact that it had, especially on Aurora, but on all of my kids, because Aurora always saw a path forward through the business. And when everything happened suddenly, that wasn't there anymore. And she had to shift her focus on what she thought she was going to do, and that happens in life anyway. You constantly change and all of that, but it was a path that she felt suddenly wasn't there anymore. Who knows, she might find a way back to it. Now, of course, her famous father Triple H is head of WWE Creative, so there's definitely a route back there. Next up, a legendary announcer exits AEW. Now, Tony Chimmel had previously been working in a backstage role in AEW, but it turns out his run in the company has come to an end. The iconic ring announcer appeared on All Access Entertainment, and according to Chimmel, he had a good time in the promotion, and he's grateful for his brief run.
I always had a good time there. I mean, they're a little smaller operation and, run things a little differently. But the people there are nice. I knew a lot of WWE people there that are there now and stuff like that. And it was a nice little run that I had there, and very grateful for the time I had there. And, they do their thing the way they want to do their thing,
Now, it's unknown if Chimmel has any interest in returning to WWE, but with WWE bringing back Lillian Garcia, it's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities. Next up, AEW to counter-program WWE. John Cena's final match is one of the biggest matches on the WWE calendar. With AEW set to host Collision on the same evening, there's been debate as to whether or not AEW is going to directly counter-program one of WWE's biggest shows ever. It turns out AEW won't be taking this bold risk, and they're making direct changes to the time that AEW Collision airs. In a press release issued today, it was confirmed that the December 13th episode of AEW Collision, which will emanate from Cardiff, Wales, will air at 4:30 PM. That means there's a significant gap between Collision and Saturday night's main event. This is definitely the right call from Tony Khan, as AEW would have been absolutely annihilated and would have struggled to compete in any capacity against Cena's final ever matchup. And finally, the truth behind a major team-up. Now, final story today takes a look at some insider information relating to Roman Reigns and CM Punk's Hollywood ventures. Last week, it was revealed that the two megastars will feature in a Zootopia sequel, and thanks to Fightful Select's latest Q&A offering, it's been revealed that Disney asked specifically for both wrestlers as a collective unit. The agent, the controversial Niccolo Piccolo, in that situation and his company would call up Disney and pitch ideas for a lot of the roles in the film. Disney liked the idea of Roman Reigns and CM Punk as zebras, but especially them together. Punk agreed initially, then Roman Reigns later, which surprised WWE from what we're told. Roman ended up wanting to do it because he knew his kids would love it. That's fair assumption that their work last year at Survivor Series was enough to get Disney interested, and the two would play the role of reluctant allies inside War Games, and their work, specifically in the cages, was outstanding. In fact, it was one of the most viewed Instagram reels in WWE history. The dishonorable duo is set to team once again this weekend, and they'll join forces to take on Team Vision inside War Games. There's still a huge push from fans to see the two collide in a singles match, and this match is destined for a future WrestleMania main event sooner rather than later. But there you have it, folks, the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.